give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fishing. Cause you hold the power as long as you're driven. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell them you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Or will you fucking fight back? You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they're giving them, you're not gonna straight it. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing. I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just fake it.
Knocked myself out. What the hell? Cheers, Brother Bear. Mr. No Fly, what's up? TWP Popcorn in the house. Yes, I know how old your cat is. Banana. How you doing, sir?
What up? What up? What you doing up here?
Oh, just was waiting a few minutes to let people up in her.
Up in her?
Up in her. Not too many people will be here, but that's okay. It's alright. We're about to play this and get on with it.
If you build it, they will come.
If you believe it. It's all good in the hood. It's only been 3 minutes.
Right on.
Thanks for coming by.
Of course.
A topic not too many people probably want to discuss. I don't know.
Well, you know, I don't know how much help I'll be, but I'll be here.
Oh no, it's you don't have to help. You have an opinion, right? I mean, no matter what it is, everybody does. They're like assholes.
I'm completely open-minded.
That's fine too. It's all good in the hood. That's all we can do. Big man, what's up? How you doing?
Big man audits is the real Chuck Bronson. I'm just saying.
The wannabe Chuck Bronson? No, I'm just kidding. Uh-oh. What's up, girlies?
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate the support.
You're welcome.
Where she dropped out? Where'd she go?
She'll be back. You know Heather, she's always popping in, popping out.
Right.
Well, we're going to take these 5 people viewing, and we're going to go with it. There she is.
BANANER. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops.
You're good.
My bad. Wrong button.
I did it. Believe it or not, I was getting ready to, or I was trying to set everything up, and I knocked myself out, so I had to come back in. It's all good news.
Been there, done that. Hello, Heather Holt.
Hello, hello, hello.
Nice to see you.
Snark his ass.
Yes, she's in here.
Banana, big man, Judd. Hey, everybody. Okay, I got thrown a link and I'm here. What's the discussion?
We are going to.
Oh,
Oh
the
yes,
leak, the memo leak. Okay, yeah, I see it now.
yeah. So I'm gonna play this. It's about 17 minutes, and then we'll have a discussion.
Okay, I'll eat while we watch.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Awesome possum.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
United States of America, they have done it. They have overturned Roe v. Wade, taken away a woman's right to choose. That is according to leaked information, a leaked summary obtained by Politico. Now, let me be very clear. If SCOTUS wants to take away a woman's right to choose in these matters, meaning they believe that life begins at conception.
Does this sound good?
They need to make the natural
Yeah.
conclusion
Echoing a little bit
that
on
child
my
support
end.
should start at conception. That when the child is
There we
born, the
go.
child should be 9 months old and not 0 months old. And also, the government now has to be mandated to stop deporting pregnant, undocumented women because now that's an American citizen, correct? There's more. The Supreme Court has now voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Alito, circulated inside of the court and obtained by Politico. Now, remember, the same individuals who are pro-war, pro-death penalty, and pro-defunding programs that actually help living human beings are the ones proclaiming to be pro-life. That somehow this is a victory for the pro-life movement. It is not. The individuals are not pro-life. Now, I want you to contextualize what's happening here. This is a stripping away at the rights connected to women. That's what this was about. All of these states that passed ridiculous laws over the last 4 years, this was their aim, to get Roe v. Wade overturned. And let me remind you that the justices appointed by Donald Trump, when they were on the record about Roe v. Wade, they said to us, it's already settled law. There are no issues there. Nobody's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And I said then they were lying, and they were. Let's go to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had an emotional response to this decision.
Hi everyone, this is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I just want to make an announcement, and I'm sorry I'm overwhelmed with emotion because this is the best news of our lifetime. The Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. There's a draft opinion out now to overturn Roe versus Wade, and this is a great victory. It's a great victory for God and the unborn who have been innocently slain for years, my entire lifetime. I want to urge everyone to continue to pray. People all over our country, people all over the world have been praying to end abortion. And I want you to understand that there is going to be a major pushback in our country because there's going to be people that are going to fight to keep it. And they're going to fight to keep murdering the innocent unborn. But I want you to dig in. I want you to dig in prayer and faith and continue to pray that this actually comes true when they do release their opinion, that Roe versus Wade will be overturned and abortion will end. This will turn the rights back to the states. And I urge every single strong pro-life state to end it. Thank you very much.
Will insurance companies now be mandated to insure a fetus? Because according to their linear logic, this is now a person. Marjorie Taylor Greene, with her sickening comments, they are adversarial not only to common sense, the constitutional rights of women, they are adversarial to even the very Bible she proclaims somehow supports her position on this. I'm going to explain all of it. The draft opinion is a full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision that guaranteed federal constitutional protections of abortion rights and the subsequent 1992 decision, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, largely maintained that right. Justice Alito writes, "We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled." He writes in the document labeled as the opinion of the court. Deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been very fluid. Justices can, and sometimes do, change their votes as draft opinions circulate. Major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts and vote trading, sometimes until just days before a decision is unveiled. The court's holding will not be final until it is published, likely in the next 2 months. So while this is a leaked judgment, it is, in fact, in my opinion, intentionally leaked. There's more. Roe v. Wade, some background to the legal case, in which the U.S. Supreme Court on January 22nd, 1973, ruled 7-2 that unduly restrictive state regulation of abortion is unconstitutional. In a majority opinion written by Justice Harry A. Blackmun, the court held that a set of Texas statutes criminalizing women in most instances violated a woman's constitutional right of privacy, which it found to be implicit in the liberty guarantee of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the part that states, "Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." It's important that you remember the word person. That's important. There's more. The case began in 1970 when Jane Roe, which was a fictional name used to protect the identity of the plaintiff, we know her name today is Norma McCorvey, instituted a federal action against Henry Wade, who was the district attorney of Dallas County, Texas, where Roe resided. He wanted to criminally prosecute and did. She filed suit in the United States Supreme Court. Well, the court kind of split hairs on the decision, creating some rights for the state as well as some rights for the woman, the pregnant woman. There's more. Let me say this for all of the Christian evangelicals, because I'm getting sick and damn tired of you all hijacking my faith background. I'm a Christian man myself. And damn it, I don't believe like you believe. I believe in values, believe in fair treatment. God gave me a brain before he gave me a book, and I use it. You have utilized your religious liberty bills to do one thing, to discriminate against others. Why is it that your religious bills have never brought people together, but simply divided people, placed them apart? You don't build coalitions, you build conflict. That's not the faith I believe in. Now, let me be very clear about what I'm going to say next. For those who believe that somehow this ridiculous ruling is aligned to your biblical belief, let me remind you, if you're not a biblical person, this isn't for you. Maybe it's some content you can use to talk to somebody else. Maybe it's not for you. But here's what Exodus says. Let's put it up. Now, I took the time to make sure that the words that are in the scripture that I'm about to cite include the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible. This is the Hebrew definition concordance of the words in this text. Exodus 21:22. If men strive and hurt or strike a woman, with a child, meaning a pregnant woman, so that her fruit miscarries from her, and yet no mischief follows the woman, he shall surely be punished, according as the woman's husband. He shall pay a civil fine as the judges determine. It's right there. If, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, even the biblical text, if the biblical text saw a fetus as a person, if you kill a fetus, the penalty for the death of a person in the context of Exodus was your life. Even in biblical times, a fetus was not considered a person. Now, I can go down the rabbit hole about how ridiculous it is that a husband is the one who has to say what the penalty is for striking the wife or the pregnant woman that he's married to, or the insanity that somehow, if nothing else happens, the guy should simply pay a civil penalty when he has struck a woman. But I'm making a point about what aligns with Scripture, because this is the basis for the Christian evangelical proclamation about abortion in America. There's more. The resulting punishment for the miscarriage is a mere fine. The Bible continues with declaring that the woman died and the death penalty would be imposed under the principle of a life for a life. That's if the woman died. If the fetus was considered a life, then the death penalty would be imposed under the principle of life for a life as well. But since a fine is imposed, it is understood that the fetus is not considered a life. From this, it is clearly understood that a fetus is not considered a full human life. Otherwise, the punishment will be death under the subsequently enumerated literal biblical principle of lex talionis, which is eye for an eye. There's more. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. One of the most common texts for many Christian evangelicals. Then the Lord God formed man. He breathed the breath of life into man's nostrils, and man became a living person. Now, you may not be a Christian. You don't even have to be a biblical scholar to understand that formation of biological matter does not necessitate a person. Man was formed, and then a respiratory function had to take place before man, Ahadam, was even considered a living person in the Bible. The ancient words that were written by individuals way back then. There's more. Here's what this law can do. Remember the Alabama Senate bill that passed, House Bill 314? This was back in 2019. The bill essentially outlawed all forms of abortion. The bill made no exceptions for victims of rape or incest, despite Democrats' attempts to reintroduce such exceptions as an amendment. Perhaps most notably, doctors who perform abortions could face up to 99 years in prison. That became law in the state of Alabama. That became law. It had to be overturned by the court. Now, states like Alabama, they are free to create these ridiculous and insane laws to strip away the rights of women. How are you not outraged? The vast majority of Americans disagree with this ruling. The vast majority of Americans agree that a woman should retain the right to choose. The Supreme Court justices that voted to overturn this said on record that Roe v. Wade was settled law. They lied, damn it. They lied, and they lied intentionally. They knew what they were going to do. They had a plan, and what are we doing? We're still talking about being civil. They're coming for all of your rights, not just this one. Voting rights, the right to go to an establishment and not be discriminated against. They're coming for that too. They're coming for them all. I get passionate. The state of Alabama made a law signed by the governor that said if a woman is raped, the rapist would get 5 years, the woman would get 20 years, and the doctor would get 99. That was law. This nation was not founded as a Christian nation. As flawed as the founders were, they were fleeing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They did not want to establish a state religion. And if they're so dogmatic about their faith, where does it stop? You know, the Bible says, thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not commit fornication. Do we now want those to become part of the statutory language of our federal laws or common law? Adrian, I'm sorry, I get really emotional and passionate when I see liberties and rights being ripped away from people, especially when people have fought so hard to get to a particular place, and to see a minority of elite political scum take it away.
You know, these are the moments that we talked about. These are the moments that so many women and individuals out there said would come. And we were told that we were overexcited, that we were doing too much. And here it is. Here we are. These individuals who sat before Congress and said that they would not disrupt Roe v. Wade. They're here saying that it is egregiously decided from the start that it is not settled precedent at all, and they're clearly looking to revoke it in its entirety. And the thing is that wipes away much of our 14th Amendment due process rights to privacy, and a lot of our rights are based on that. Lawrence v. Texas, the ruling that says that the government can't come into your home and decide what kind of sex you're having. That is something based on a right to privacy, the right to get married to someone who isn't your color. All of these things, the gay marriage, everything is founded upon this due process right to privacy. And individuals like Justice Alito, who just wrote this draft opinion, do not believe that that right to privacy actually exists. So the tenets that we live by, this thought that we can be individuals and choose what's best for our body, what's best for our futures, what we want to do intimately with each other, that's about to be eroded. So people who don't care whether women have a right to control their bodily autonomy, you should at least pay attention, because again, they are coming for our privacy rights, and that will impact you, and it will impact you gravely, and it impact your loved ones. And if you do not speak up now, when they come for you, there will not be many people who can speak up, because they will already have been taken, and they will already have suffered and lost. So this is something that women and people who can bear children should not be fighting alone. And it's very sad that so many individuals still don't get that.
Yeah, very well said. And if Trump becomes president again, he will not leave through a democratic process. That is guaranteed.
Nope.
The Supreme Court will not rule for him to leave through a democratic process. They are
All righty.
I know, right? I mean, I knew it was going to be.
No, it's controversial.
Well, and I understand that this guy, his opinion and everything. If you take all that out of this, out of what he was presenting, you know, or how he was presenting it, I guess would be the better way to say it. I get that it's a one-sided
op-ed.
Yes. I get that, but that's not, you know, what I want to talk about. I guess I just want to see how people feel about it in general, because it is such a big divide. And then, you know, I wanted to talk about the part where he, you know, brought the scripture and, you know, and translated it or whatever. Because I know interpreted. Sorry. Thank you. I'm like, I know that a lot of pro-life people, you know, at least I have heard often resort to, you know, going to the Bible and whatnot. So that's the part that really kind of, I guess, opened my eyes a little bit. on that situation. I myself, my thoughts, my opinion. I don't think it should be illegal. I don't. I think there are situations that happen. For one, I don't think that if I'm raped, I should have to carry that child if I choose. If I don't want to, um, that's my choice. Um, but I do agree at some point there needs to be a cutoff. I know when this first came up, the big discussion or the big thing was at what point in time is that child considered right life? Is it at conception? Is it at birth? And that's been a big ordeal right there. What are y'all's opinions on that?
Uh,
And until I asked you, because you're a guy, I know that guys don't really get a say so when it comes to a woman having an abortion. So most of the time they probably don't even know. Um, and I get that.
right. And like I told you before, I mean, I was raised um, Catholic. I am Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic. I don't go to church every week or anything to that effect, but I do believe in God, where at least I hope there's a God, and I will pray to God. So if there is, hopefully I go somewhere better after this life. But with that being said, like, I try not to ever get in this conversation about abortion because it's always like a very heated on both sides. And I'm kind of like down the middle with it. Can
Hmm.
I say?
Yeah.
Like, I see everybody's point. This guy, he was just all one side, complete one side. The only what I got about it, I mean, it was good to bring the topic up, but just to let everybody know that's watching, if you did not hear him, that is a supposed leaked uh, scenario. That doesn't mean that
Well,
they
he's not the only
overturned Roe
one who
versus
is
Wade.
presenting that either. But
No,
maybe I
it's
should
all
have.
over the news.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
all
I
over the
should have
news.
picked somebody better.
Yeah,
And that's fine. I mean, I get it.
yeah. Which I don't watch that guy. I don't watch that channel. I don't know nothing about him, so I mean, it was kind of like I don't know.
He has brought a lot of uh, things that happen that go on.
He can be controversial.
Yes, he definitely can. But there are some things that I like the way he covers, and it could be for whatever reason.
On a lighter note, if he is looking for a girlfriend, I'm sure he could have got a whole bunch after that one. Just saying. But no. Yeah, I'm down the middle with it. Like, I have opinions on both sides of it. I see uh the scientific aspect of it. I see the the woman's mental aspect of it. I see the killing a human life aspect of it,
Right.
you know, and I don't know. That's, like I said, it's one of them big things that I don't like to get in the conversation about because it always
And
turns
that's cool.
south.
I mean, I get it. It goes along with political and religion. I mean,
I've
um,
I've seen girls, and I'll say this, and people could get mad at this because they'll never change my thought on this. And I've actually seen this with my own eyes in my lifetime. This isn't hearsay. This isn't nothing. I know a specific girl that I know that had like 6 abortions, but she just goes and sleeps around and then gets pregnant and then takes $250, $300, whatever it is, and goes and has an abortion. I believe that's fucking wrong.
right.
That's fucking wrong.
Yeah, that is
And
wrong.
I agree. I agree.
And she's had like 5 or 6 abortions in a matter of 10 years. And I think that's fucking completely wrong.
On that same note, though, I mean, I don't agree with what you're saying. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I think that there needs to be. So after I have 4 children. I've miscarried. I had ectopic pregnancy. Um, and I did make the choice many years ago that I was not in the situation to have a child. So, do I regret my decision? Of course. I mean, absolutely. But at that time, at that moment, um, I felt it was the best thing to do. Um,
But and that's where I get like being down the middle with it when it comes to like religion, because um, if you really believe in God and all that, then the only person you have to answer to is your maker. So if you do something like that and people think it's wrong or whatever, you're going to answer. If you go off of religion, you're going to answer to the man in the end, correct?
right. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. Correct. I mean, only to the God am I choosing my higher power. However you, yeah.
Uh,
Heather.
It's a
She's like, no.
no. It's a it's a very tough subject. Uh, I hear people like I'm seeing in chat some people choose one, leave the rest, and all of that.
Hmm.
And I happen to be born the year that Roe v. Wade passed,
Right.
and so I've grown up with abortion around me and in my life. And I have, like Toe, I have known girls that use it as birth control.
Right.
But I also know situations where a 12-year-old girl should not have to have her father's child. I also know situations where a 15-year-old girl who really, really wants her baby cannot have it because there are medical complications.
Right.
You know, it if you take the morality out of it, you take the religion out of it, and you bring it straight down to what's best for the health, that is between the mother, the father, and the doctor.
Hmm.
You know, and there are some men, really, really want the baby. And I think that they should be a part of that conversation. But there are men who don't want a baby. There are women who trap men with a baby. And in
Hmm.
that situation, I don't think the man should have to pay, the child support if they were trapped in that situation.
I agree.
hmm
You
That's
know,
that's for sure.
because women, and as a woman, I hate to admit this, but when it comes to sex, women are very, very manipulative. Lie to the guy, I'm on birth control, you're okay. We don't have to
Right.
use a condom. How's he supposed to know?
It doesn't matter. He needs to wrap it up.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is how's he supposed to know?
You better wrap it
The only
before you tap it.
There you go.
the only way to stop it is, and I was talking with somebody about this earlier in Discord. People today in mine and Toe's generation and AJ's generation, you they lost the getting to know someone. If you don't know someone's religion, if you don't know someone's background, if you don't know someone's thoughts on all of this, but yet you're going to put yourself in that situation to possibly create a life, you've got to get to know someone. And I tried teaching my boys this and everything else. Thank God they were adults when they had their kids. But if you don't get to know someone and you've got differing opinions on it, that's going to be a huge problem in itself. And it ultimately comes down to the woman of whether she's going to or not going to,
Hmm.
which I don't agree with. Like I said, I think the father needs some kind of input in it. And if he says no, then there's legal issues after that. But the best way it was explained to me is, and I know people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but just remember that this is how it was explained to me by a medical professional. Imagine you're baking a cake, but there's some ingredients missing. So it's not going to be a cake. Up until a certain point in pregnancy, not all the ingredients are there.
Mm-hmm.
So until, some certain parts develop, it is not viable. Regardless, if you have a car wreck, if you fall down the steps, if you get punched, or just, nature says no. There's a point there is a point during the pregnancy that, yeah, the baby will be viable. And that's where everybody's having the arguments on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Heather.
no, it's just it's a really, really tough subject for anybody to sit down and discuss.
And just to be clear, I love everybody. Doesn't matter what side of this you're on. I don't care. Like, and that's, as Heather said, that's the generation I come from. You can not have the same opinions as me, or think some of the same things that I think, but at the end of the day, we can still be cool. You know what I mean? Like, so I love everybody. I don't care if you think pro-life or not pro-life. So just say it.
You're echoing, by
I
the
don't
way.
know why. I think it's
Yeah,
like
and no, I mean, it's, I love everybody who's come by and voice their opinion or whatever. I have a right to voice mine, just like everybody else has a right to, express theirs. Um,
Am I echoing now?
no.
No, I don't hear an echo now.
Let me hear. Yeah. Yeah, it's this webcam. The webcam's picking it up.
Oh yeah. Now you're starting to, the louder you get.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that life is life, but when does life become a life? PI. I'm just curious. Now, I mean, for me, it's once the heart beats, right? And that's 6 weeks? No, 8.
No,
Something.
that's the first time you can hear it on stethoscope.
Oh, is that
There's a debate about that.
of when they become
Well, no, there's a debate about when
the
you can
heartbeat is
actually,
heard?
yeah. And see, and there are people who believe it's at conception. There are people who believe it's when the heart beats. Then you've got the people who believe that it's when the lungs
When
develop, because without the lungs, once it's out without the lungs, they can't breathe, so the heart won't beat.
right.
So, there's a slew of theories on it.
Abstinence, yeah. I mean, that's really the only solution. I mean, yeah. So, okay, let me ask you. Oh no, because I really do know the answer, I guess. Oh, never mind, brother bear. So no, I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. So those who are 100% pro-life, and they're a person or a life at conception. Is there no exception to that rule that y'all have? For example, like Heather, you know, talked about the girl, 12-year-old girl or whatever it was, or if you're raped, um, or yeah,
And yes, Cheese Bear, there are facts, not theories. But I'm coming from a place of things I've seen, things I have read personally, things that I know people that have gone through personally. We're not talking about science right now. You know, everybody has their. You can read one article and then read another, and they're going to be completely differing depending on uh, the scientific and medical background of whoever wrote it. And they do sometimes, depending on what it is, put their own personal feelings in it. You know, and this is something that is going to come down to, you know, everybody's going to say it's a morality thing, it's a science thing, it's a medical thing, it's a religious thing. When it's actually, it encompasses all of that because it also depends on how that person was brought up and their own beliefs and what they've seen and what's been presented to them. And, you know, Cheese Bear says, you know, when the life has an independent DNA and it's reproducing cells, conception. Yes, that is conception. But I don't know if a lot of people know this, that when a baby is with its mother in the womb, when it's a fetus, it has its mother's blood. It has its mother's blood type. Even after birth, it has its mother's blood and its mother's blood type. And then it can change at 6 months of age and they develop their own or match their father's. Blood type does change. Just like if you have a bone marrow transplant, your DNA changes to the donor that gave you the bone marrow.
Hold on, she's there.
Well, it's not that I'm calling you out, it's that that's what was highlighted on the screen in front of me.
Yeah, no, I know. Don't worry. It's all good. I'm sure she'll be respectful if she does come.
I mean, I would love to hear her opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would too. Absolutely.
I mean, that's, you know, that's part of a discussion, that's part of
Right.
a debate. You
Right.
get all sides of it.
Yep.
Well, that's not accurate. You do not carry your mother's blood type when you're born. That's why we have something called an RH factor. When you have a mother who's O negative and their child is O positive, then she has
It's
to get a shot or she can lose that child. So there
Yes.
goes that theory. So let's
no,
return to
that's not a
facts.
theory. That's not a theory. That was actually presented to me by a doctor because my son's blood type changed and I wanted to know why. And that is how the pediatrician told me
Well,
is
then
why
how do
my
you
blood
have the RH factor?
Well, the RH factor comes in is, and I only know because every time I got pregnant, I had to have the RH negative shot. It's the they have our blood, but it's when the male, whatever blood type the male has, and then that that transpires to the baby. So the baby can have some of the mothers, but of course, they have the fathers as well, and that's what attacks the. Uh,
All right, the RH factor, and again, I'm negative blood, so I'm familiar with it and I'm familiar with the process.
right.
The reason we have to get the shot is because as a negative person, the woman is carrying negative blood. If the child, if the father gives the positive blood, that's the dominant factor and that takes over. The baby is positive. If there's interaction, the woman's body decides to neglect that child because it sees it as a foreign being. It does not have the same blood type.
correct up until a certain point. That's when the shots come in
The
because
shots are supposed to be before you have before you conceive.
no. A friend of mine who is RH negative, she lost two babies.
You get it. You actually get the shot twice. You get it
Yeah,
in the first
You get
trimester,
it as
and
soon
then
as,
you get
yeah.
it. Yeah.
yeah. As soon as you
Actually,
find
you
out you're
get
pregnant.
it if you lose a baby, then you get a shot so that you can turn around and perhaps the next time you conceive, you'll be okay. So they do the shot once you lost a child to prepare for the next conception.
Correct. A girlfriend of mine, like I said, she lost her first two. They couldn't figure out what was going on. because it turns out that she was positive, but her husband was negative. And it took the loss of two children for them to find that out. And you got to remember, this was 35 years ago, almost 30 years ago. And what happened is she had to get, once she got pregnant and found out she was pregnant, she had to get the shot so that she wouldn't abort the child. But later on in the pregnancy,
That would
the
be a miscarriage, not an abortion.
I didn't say anything about abortion for that.
You said so that she wouldn't abort the child. It's actually
Her
would
body, your body naturally aborts the child. That is a
it
miscarriage.
naturally rejects the child, but to use the word abort in the middle of this discussion is pretty inflammatory and surprising.
I'm sorry. I learned in school that the word abort means to stop. You abort a mission, it stops the mission.
But when
Your
we're having
body.
a discussion about abortion and you want
She's right.
to
I don't
utilize
think
the word
she meant
abort
it. Or, I mean,
when it comes to miscarriage, that's what I'm saying is you're not bringing into
Okay,
context the entire discussion.
okay. I agree. We're not going to agree on the semantics and terminology of a word that I used. I agree with that.
I wouldn't
But
have a problem with it except for with this topic. I believe it's a bit inflammatory.
and that's
and,
your opinion. Duly
Which
well,
I'm
noted.
no,
welcome to
no,
have
I
my
wouldn't. I
opinion,
wouldn't
but like
even. I
I
wouldn't even
wanted
say
to
it.
actually talk about facts tonight. That's why I called up, because we had, Mr. Anti-Christian who then utilized the Bible. So there was a lot of inflammatory straw man arguments utilized in that, which, now, I've heard a lot of opinions, but can we actually talk about some facts regarding abortion and that conception is the reality?
Please, yes, please give us your belief in,
It's
what
not my
you think.
belief. It's the
No, no,
fact,
let me
again,
finish.
back to
Let
the
me
RH
finish.
factor, that there is
If you don't let
there's new
someone finish what
DNA.
they're saying, if you don't
Go
let
ahead.
someone finish what they're saying, you won't see their side either. What I was saying is, yes, you know, your belief is based on the facts that you have read and what you have been told and what you have researched, correct?
My beliefs are based upon the information that is scientifically available. Yes.
Yes. So see, we agree on that. So what have you researched and what have you learned? We would love to hear that.
What I have learned is what this entire discussion about today, what is going on with the Supreme Court. First of all, the decision hasn't come down yet.
Exactly.
What they did was they took the decision which was being prepared and they leaked it so that it could create an inflammatory issue, and then it could perhaps sway some people in the court to change their mind on the topic. What the issue is at hand is actually states' rights. It's saying that the federal government doesn't have anything to do with what this issue is. It's about states' rights. It's about saying that this issue should be dealt with legislatively and not judicially. That's what the court is deciding on this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at the situation now with this whole topic, we're seeing that each state is deciding on their own, whether it be a heartbeat at 26 weeks, 15 weeks, or California, I think it's a month after. Then they're all making their own decisions. And even though I am adamantly pro-life, I believe that you should, and I think that Bear, what he was discussing, I completely agree with him. I think that the issue of abortion and the issue of child support and how we handle this whole thing needs to be addressed and addressed
Absolutely.
appropriately. The idea that we make statements, first of all, it's nice that they've also decided what a woman is again, because I am one and you two are one, and it's nice that they can start to define a woman again in the media, because they couldn't do that for a little bit. But to turn around and make these statements that we keep some kind of hold over and a lack of understanding of the basic science that once a cell has an independent DNA and is reproducing, that is a living being. And it needs to be respected in that way. And there's other side issues amongst this with, the men who are typically not afraid to say, are too afraid to say anything on this topic, and because they don't feel like they have a right to say anything. Well, it's their child too.
Right.
As a
Yeah,
woman,
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
understand as a woman any man who could ever return to a woman who killed his baby. And I am adamant about this, and I apologize if I'm upsetting anyone. But I find it to me it's the innocence of an unborn child depends on our society to protect it, just as much as the elderly in our society depend on us to protect them as well.
Mm-hmm.
I see a complete correlation between the two. Now, I would never physically interfere with anyone's legal right to have a medical procedure done. And for the same way that I was offended that my government still has in place vaccine mandates for its own employees, that there are honorable people in the military being discharged because they do not their religious requests are being denied. I mean, it's bodily autonomy when it comes to having an abortion, but it's not, which is not birth control. I will refuse to call it that, but it's not bodily autonomy when it comes to. So I need to be protected if I want to do an act, a proactive act of having an abortion. The world needs to protect me from people who want to stop that. But yet, when I do not want a medical procedure, the federal government has the right to push that on its people. That's what I'm having a problem with. It's the inconsistencies, and that's why I apologize to you, Ajot and Heather. But listening to that idiot that you had up had me blowing off the roof because he was nothing but an emotional strong on. Is the moment that you say you're anti-Christian, do not mention the Bible to me.
He didn't
I don't
say
want to hear it.
he was anti-Christian.
Oh, yes, he did. You
Wait a
back
minute.
that truck up and you listen.
Are you talking about the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Because I was like, well, I know that's not the toe. Okay. I just
Oh,
wanted
no,
to
no, no,
clarify.
no, no, no.
I just
I'm not
wanted to
saying anything about
clarify.
that. I wasn't addressing Toe at all. No, no, no. That video, one of the first things he said was he's anti-Christian. Well, if you're anti-Christian, then don't bring up the Bible. Just say if you're anti-Muslim, don't bring up their Quran.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You can't turn around and insult somebody or disrespect someone or even the lack of respect of someone's belief, and then you want to turn around and you want to bring it in and say, hey, we're going to use your belief. No, it doesn't play that way. You lost that chance. Goodbye.
He didn't say that he is anti-Christian. And
Oh, yes, he
I
did.
think
no,
I wasn't up here for part of that, so I'm not sure what was said and what wasn't said because I don't watch him either. I wasn't here at the very beginning. I've been having phone issues, so I can't comment on if he did or not.
Well, I'm telling you that's what started getting me irritated was the moment this man was telling how he's not going to hear about our religious stuff anymore, yada, yada, yada. So, no, he took it to the religious argument to the beginning. That's when what he started with was the religious argument.
And in this situation, a lot of people do start out with the religious side of it, the moral side of it, and I think that's where a lot of people butt heads because, like you was talking, the science behind it, and you've got people who don't understand a lot of science behind it or who don't research it. And then you've got people who aren't Christian but are religious, but then you got people who aren't religious but are spiritual, who do believe in a higher being. And then, when you've got 5 people in the room and each one of them were taught different or have different beliefs, they're going to have different viewpoints, even on the exact same scientific data presented in front of them, based on, what they have been raised to believe. And And I think that's where a lot of people are having an issue and a problem with everything. And they're not just like us. We may have differing opinions, we may have seen different facts, but we can sit here and have a civil conversation and, try to see someone else's viewpoint without dogging them, without putting them down, without, becoming a screaming match and wanting to punch each other's lights out. That doesn't solve anything.
I don't have a problem having a discussion. What I have a problem
Exactly.
with is some of the strongman arguments, like the rape argument. The issue I have with the rape argument is you go to the hospital. I don't know if anyone has ever been here and dealt with someone who has gone to the hospital for such things. But what they do is one of the things they do is, and years before they had all the pills that they give you. They'll give you a bunch of pills to prevent pregnancy, as well as antivirals and anti-STD stuff. They give them all of that stuff to prevent the pregnancy, so the pregnancy doesn't happen. The actual conception, when the egg actually attaches, takes over 24 hours. So it's not something that happens immediately.
Well, let me ask you, and this has been brought up to me before, back when the Plan B or the day after pill came out.
Hmm.
There was a lot of people who were pro-life that just were absolutely up in arms, saying even if it's a rape, a baby's a baby, you can't do that. That's the same as giving someone an abortion as giving them the Plan B pill.
Before they even had abortion, before they even had the pro-life pills, whatever you want to call it, before they had those, before they were even termed that, what they did have, what they would give a woman a DMC. I don't know if you've ever had that. It's a medical procedure. It's
Yes.
basically cleaning out the plumbing.
Yeah.
And they would do that for women when they were raped. So this has been going on for decades upon decades and decades. And I think I'm the oldest person, here. So when I tell you it's been since I was a kid, it's been since I was a kid. And the so that's why I have a problem with that. But I'll tell you why. Because even though I'm not Catholic anymore, as you can tell, I went to Catholic school. So they were, again, adamantly pro-life because Roe v. Wade, I'm not as old as some people may think, but it was a thing. And they, of course, going to Catholic school, they're very pro-life. And they explained why they were against birth control pills, because birth control pills, they prevent the womb, they make it highly acidic so that the egg does not actually attach to the mother. So it prevents that ability there of the fertilized egg. So as far as they're concerned, that it when my husband and I went to get married way years ago, I'm divorced, praise Jesus on that one. But when we went to get divorced, the priest wouldn't marry us unless I got off birth control pills. And I explained to him that, this is my doctor's note of what is medically wrong with me and why I have a medical need for this. And he would, until we both swore that I was off my birth control pills, he wouldn't marry us.
So that tells, I mean,
Because
yeah,
the
because
Catholic
clearly
Church
women.
believes that's an abortion.
Well, see, and on the flip side of that, like polycystic ovarian disease or syndrome, depending on who you talk to, birth
Hmm.
control is the first step into helping that. It also helps with uh, endometriosis. So
uh,
there are women who are on birth control that it has nothing to do with procreation. It's for her actual health.
and
You
I
know,
was one of those women. I was absolutely one of those women where there was an actual need for it. When I say I had a doctor's note, it's not like, I just called up whatever doctor until they gave me what I wanted. I had a legitimate reason for that. And, but again, to the Catholic Church, the hostility of the womb that's created from that pill is preventing the fertilized egg. Now, do I think that that is? No, because that's something that has not actually, uh, it's not in the reproduction stage at that point. You know, I,
exactly.
j- so I don't agree that that is, and I just find it very difficult to believe whether I don't agree it should be birth control. I think it's a difficult decision that a lot of women make. And I do not, even though it does get me emotional and I came in kind of hot, and again, I apologize to you and to the chat. Um,
Well,
I I
it
have
is. It's an
known women,
emotional subject, though.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
very emotional subject.
I've known women who have done this and it has broken my heart, but I wasn't going to physically stop them from what they were going to do. And I also have known women who faced this tough decision and decided not to do that. And I think a woman's a criminal? No. Do I think that if she has five of them, I think she's other
That's
things, but
that's an
but
issue.
but
Yeah.
it's an issue for me, but the act itself, just because it's repetitive, and you deal with 1A, both of you, does the act itself, just because it's repetitive, suddenly make it a crime? That I
No,
can't logically fall behind.
no, it doesn't make it a crime. See, and there again, that's where I was saying earlier. You know, it that falls on the morality issue. You know,
Yeah,
and we're taught our morals through our upbringing, whether you are Christian or Buddhist or Catholic or you worship a Celtic moon goddess. I mean, everybody's taught very young differently. And that's where your morals are based on until you get in a position to make up your own mind, so to speak. But it's still, no matter what, based on what you were taught. And,
my but
you,
my
you know,
position is I can't help but see the science, and when I see the science, I can't help say that it's wrong, and that there needs to be a protection for that unborn child. But what that entails you contacting your state legislator, which is what, thank
yes.
God Roe v. Wade was overturned, put it back to the state. And if you want to live in Texas where they say it's heartbeat detection, and that's where you choose to live, then fine. If you want to live in California where, hey, the kid's been baptized and been around for 4 weeks, but we can still kick them to the curb.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, that's what they're doing in California. So, I mean, it depends that's where, my position is to support the people I know and to deal with my local legislator.
Well, I know
I'm
somebody put it in chat earlier which amendment it was. I'm wanting to say the 14th they put in. And I think it was ivermectin. He had put in which one it was. Um, that it originally is supposed to be the state's decision, not a federal decision to begin with.
It's supposed to be a state's decision. We're the United States of America. We're not Canada. We're not Mexico. And our federal government fails to get an understanding of that. And that's that's a major issue that we're having right now is we are set up, which is inconvenient when it comes to things like traffic laws. But maybe, I don't know, alcohol or something like that. I think everybody's 21. I don't know. But when it comes to things
Yeah.
like traffic laws, I mean, I've traveled and I'm like, I don't know whether to turn right here or not. I better not do it. And everyone toots at me real bad and I don't see anything, then I'll go. But you don't necessarily know. That's an inconvenience. But when it comes to, what your life priorities are, that's what you have to choose your state for. Do you want to live in a state that says it's okay to kill a child 28 days after they're born? Do you want to live in a
I
state
had
where they
not.
say it's
You've
the,
got me going to be doing some homework because I actually had not heard that until you said it.
hmm
So that is something I'm going to be researching.
well, some states want to argue that a woman's health. Well, now we're talking health is not just physical health; it's my emotional health, it's my happiness, it's what have you, and it's not necessarily something that is your physical well-being. And again, I've known people in this situation where it's like that baby is, that you're going to die if you carry that baby, and the wife's like, no, don't take the baby, and the husband's like, I'm going to lose you both. I'm the man in this family, and no, our
And
decision is
see,
save my wife.
and he had no decision in it unless she was incapable of making that decision at the time.
Correct. And that's not that's not fair. There has to be respect for the man as well. A man should have the right. In my personal opinion, and ladies, you may not like this, but if you have a child and that baby's born, that man should make a decision right then and there. Yes or no. I'm in or I'm out. And if he opts out, he doesn't get to come back. But if he opts in, then he's responsible for not just child support, but he needs to be a part of that child's life. So a man should have a choice as well. The
I
idea that men become indentured servitudes for children for 26 years in some states is just absurd. That is not a debit machine. That is a womb.
Exactly, and
And
that's
there's
what.
more to fatherhood than money.
Yeah, see, and being the mother of two boys, and my son having just recently gotten custody of, physical custody of his child, I learned after they had their children the father's viewpoint. After he became a father, and it was done to him. And it's like the father has every right to have a say so as well. You know, does that mean that they go to court to decide? That's but it,
I'd like to answer Nikki's question. Yeah, she can opt out as well. She can give that baby up for adoption or she can give it to the father. So absolutely she has that right. But under our current system, we don't. And when men get custody of the children, majority of men that I know that have custody of their children do not accept or ask for child support because they're so afraid that the woman is going to turn around and want custody of the kid.
and they're afraid of losing it. Yes, I know. Yes.
and it takes so much for a man to even get custody. It takes so much to prove the mother unfit because in most state laws, it because she
Most
had the
states are mother
baby.
states. Yeah.
Yeah, most states are mother states, exactly.
Most
And
states are, and it's a shame because not every woman is meant to be a mother.
Correct. Or like you're
and
saying, you know what I mean? They not that they can't, but they choose that they don't want to, and a lot of times I think that's why women make that decision. I think that it would be better, or if there were more resources for women, instead of when they were complicate when they were choosing whether to or not, the resources and stuff, to be able to, if they didn't want that child, instead of abortion, they could adopt that child out, and stuff like that.
Well, see, and Nikki brings up a good point. She says, "Do you know how many kids age out unadopted?" And those are the situations of more where the child's been taken away, or the mother gave it up for adoption without going through an, uh, an actual adoption agency, where parents were there ready for a child, that wanted a child and was looking for a child. And and Tiffany's epiphany, it's like she says, the system is flawed in that sense, because they make it so hard for people to adopt. They make it so expensive for people to adopt. I mean, unless you've got a family member or you've got an open adoption proceeding, it is so hard for people to adopt kids these days.
Well, one of the reasons it's so hard to adopt is because the foster care system is profitable.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But it's not beneficial for the children. The children are the last thing that matters to the foster care system. You know, I know a guy right now who's fighting for custody of his kids, and it's they're actually in custody in foster care with he's now a widower, but his wife's his mother-in-law, his mother and stepfather-in-law. That's who has custody of kids, and they don't want to give the kids up because it's a lot of money.
Well, that, and it's the last bastion of the mother. You know, it, I've seen that happen a lot, where the child automatically goes to the maternal grandparents if the mother's the one that passes away. And when the father passes away, the paternal grandparents, like here in Tennessee, there are no grandparents' rights. If my son, God forbid, if one of my sons was to die, I have absolutely no rights to my grandchildren.
No.
And they lose that side of their family.
If they don't want to grant you those, then if the mother of the children doesn't want to grant you the visitation, then you're sorry. There's nothing you can do. But I think part of the problem for all this is we made is AJ, you said that we should have more benefits for the women and more resources, and I disagree with you because
And what
I
I
think
mean
there's.
by that, can I just clarify?
Go ahead.
So instead of having an abortion, you know what I mean? They, for whatever reason, some of the reasons of having an abortion, whether you agree with it or not, is they, that person is thinking about financial, is thinking about the medical, aspect of it, and how am I going to get all the things that I need for as far as a child and stuff like that. So I'm saying if there is a program that can help that mother get through the pregnancy, and then if she chooses at that time not to want, she doesn't want it, then she could give it out, for adoption. It would be easier. I think that woman, I myself, if I was in that predicament, I think I would choose the help and the resources, so I knew that I could carry that baby to term, and everything be okay, and then give it up for adoption, rather than not thinking I can do it. How am I going to do it, and making the choice of just not dealing with it. You see what I'm saying?
And you're talking about a situation also. There are women who give up the baby for adoption against a father's request to keep his child. she's
Yeah,
And
like,
right,
that's
and that's
inappropriate.
right.
you know,
Well,
it's there is see, and there is so much that comes out of everything that people, you know, they get bogged down with the morality of it, the religion of it, the science of it, and then, you know, once the baby's born, everybody's like, okay, you're on your own now,
well,
and
can I
that's not
just
right
clarify?
either.
There are programs available. Now I live in Tennessee now, so I transplanted here a year and a half ago,
So
so I don't know what's available
I
here.
welcome you in, hon.
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm in Tennessee.
However, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, and there were plenty of opportunities available that were utilized by people I was in high school with on housing, feeding, clothing, taking care of every need the mother had, and then post baby being born for several months after that. So there are plenty of at least there were back in the day, which
Mhm.
Yeah.
brings me to something that I think Nikki's Happy Little Life might appreciate. It's the government doesn't belong involved in these personal things. When you have charitable organizations that people, once their taxes are not so horrendous, they can actually afford to do that and sit down and write a check or donate to, you know, a home for women who are going through this. You know, they what they did was they would actually, the money that was donated to this organization was utilized for food and not food, but clothing, et cetera, like that. But they actually lived with not the family they were giving their child to, but another family, so that the other family could see what this woman was going through with her pregnancy and support her and all that. And then someone else would actually be the one to adopt her child. But so it gave the soon to be parents, not that particular child but another child, the ability to actually be a part of the process and to have some empathy and some sympathy and know what the woman was going through, who would be giving them a child. So but those things were done because people, believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe people in general are good for the most part, the
Mhm.
majority of people. And given the ability, they will help their brother and their sister or their neighbor out. And I see it all the time. No matter where I've lived across this country, I've always seen it. And, but when the government steals so much of our money to give it through taxes and then gives it to handouts, and makes it actually more beneficial to turn your body into a debit machine and a cash machine, rather than as a woman actually utilize your full potential, you know then that's where we've gone wrong. We've gone wrong when we're not doing things individually, and big daddy government's going to take care of everything for us. He's going to feed us, clothe us, put us in our little home pods and all that, and then whatever they tell us to do, we're going to just bow down and say, because Big Daddy government has spoken. And you can't allow yourself to be dependent on that. The government needs to back out of stuff like this as well.
And I agree with that. You know, I mean, they already have their fingers in so many pots that are in our lives that it's it's actually mind-boggling. You know that they take all of this money, they say it's for these programs, or they say it's for the taxes, and the taxes are going to help with these programs, and it's like, but it doesn't get done.
Well,
They
he said
come
go
up,
send another 33 billion to Ukraine because we don't need it here.
yeah. I mean,
Or cancel student debt because I should be paying for someone else to go to school. So should you. So should your grandchildren, because remember, this is all borrowed. So your grandchildren will be paying for someone's education.
Exactly. I
If
mean,
you can afford if you took out the loan, then you get to pay it back. Why don't I go borrow $50,000 from the government? Big Daddy government want to give me that and then cancel it? It's
oh,
inappropriate.
that's not going to happen.
I wouldn't take it if they gave it to me. Just cut my taxes.
Yeah, cut the taxes. I mean, I mean, because they take taxes out of your check. You pay taxes on everything you buy, and you pay tax city, state, and county taxes on your home, on your vehicle. And it's like somebody once said, how did she put it? This lady was in like her 60s or 70s, and she was still paying a mortgage. And she was like, why do the taxes I pay have to go toward the schools and not repairing the roads when I've never had children, but I do drive on the road every day? And it's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and a catch 22, because you want things to be fixed, but once we give it, we have no control over where it goes and how it's actually spent.
Well, and it brings us back to this topic and because Nikki wants to know, what do these things have in common? It has to do with the government overreaching and getting too involved in our lives.
The
And part
federal government, yeah.
Yeah, the federal government. The federal government does not belong, in getting involved in this discussion. If the people of Tennessee, since we're from Tennessee, if you want to get together and I don't even if you want to write your representative and your governor and say, now this is what I think our law should be, then that's what you send your representatives to represent you for. They should get together. And if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's what the process is supposed to be. I don't agree with it. It's wrong. I think that, as far as I'm concerned, scientifically, that is a life, and I think we should protect it. I will passionately argue my point to my representative, and at that point, it's done.
Yeah, and going back to that, it's not that they're overturning anything, it's that they're putting it back in the state's hands where it was
Well,
supposed to
yeah.
be to begin with, each individual state. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting confused on the issue of this memo leak, because there's no guarantee that this is going to go through. It's an idea that they put together that they haven't even voted on.
Well,
Is
they haven't voted on it, but
it's not for the
yeah.
federal to decide this. This is for the individual states to decide this. And then, and like you said, if you don't like that state's views or laws on it, move somewhere where it is, or fight passionately to have it changed.
This decision has not come down yet. It's not uncommon for them to formulate decisions ahead of time. They review it, make sure it stands up to what it should, get the input of the other people, and that's why there's usually the point person who's doing it. So that's what this is, and what they the leak. It was a leak. It was not. It was not divulged. The leak, the purpose of it was to get all the anger and hostility, and hoped that, because they have not actually gone on record with their decision yet. They haven't actually voted. So until they time that they actually vote, they can always change their mind. And that's one of the reasons why you have the majority and the minority decisions that they create, their positions, so that they can maybe convince someone else. And they do have these discussions, but so yes, it can change. I don't think it will at this point, because if it does, then what it's telling is that you can threaten violence upon the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court will bow down and take a knee. And there has to be one part of our federal government that actually does its job and doesn't do that.
True. And Nikki brings up, what was it she said? Uh, I don't think it's anyone's business but those involved. And uh,
But when those involved are on two opposite sides of the tracks, you know what I mean? Then what?
yeah,
Like,
there
you know,
that there comes
the
that
girl
comes.
wants to and the guy don't, you know? I mean, look, like I said, I did make that choice many years ago. I do fully 110%, you know, regret it. I now un- I have more of an understanding about things than I did back then, especially, you know, the father's right to have a say so in that decision, and to participate in the, you know, just everything. I wasn't thinking like that when I was young. You know, I wasn't thinking, all I thought was, I can't provide for this child. Um, I'm going to bring this child into a fucked up society. We're overpopulated. And again, I was young. You know, these are just the thoughts that came into to my head. I didn't want to bring something into this world and not being able to give it the best life that he or she could have. That's what I was thinking. You know, now I know I can, by if I choose not to, you know, have the child or keep the child myself, I can give it to somebody who wants a child, or um, you know, there's other options other than just abortion. So
Nikki has her statement is that the state should have no place in my direct life choices. Now that's the whole thing. It's in shouldn't have in my direct life choices, but that's where I have the disagreement. It isn't just me, so it's not my life choice. I believe that child, once there is an independent DNA that is different from the parents and there is a reproduction of cells, that is a life that needs to be respected, and that's when I believe it's not my choice anymore. That's when I believe that the life should be protected.
I
And
agree. I mean,
Tiffany says you can hate me if you like, but I don't think killing a human being should be a choice. I absolutely agree with you.
Well, let me ask you this. All right, we know your stance on abortion and killing and when it's actually life. Well, therein also lies, I know a lot of people who are pro life but are against the death penalty for someone who's committed heinous and atrocious crimes. And I've had the discussion with people before of how can you be pro life, any and all life, but you're for the death penalty and taking that life. So, where is your stance on separating that?
What my stance on that is the innocent life. If you hurt someone in my family, you kill someone in my family, I don't have a problem. I'll pull. In fact, I wouldn't shoot you. I'd cut you. But I don't. I mean that's. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna
I
be
have
honest
heard
with you. I don't
I've
have a
heard that
problem with
before.
that.
I've heard
I
that
don't have
about
a
you
problem with
before.
that. I mean it. I'm gonna be honest with you. You hurt me and mine. I don't have a problem with it. I would sleep like a baby that night. I promise you I would. Because
But
there's a
you see where I'm
difference of there's an innocent life that is dependent on someone else to help bring it to survival because it is not born yet. Even once it's born, you know, first couple years, a child cannot do anything on their own. They're completely dependent. So
Okay,
so
and you
that's
you
that
explained
innocent
that.
dependent life. But
You
the
explained
life
that.
that yeah, but the life that chooses to take to be proactively and do a heinous crime, as you put it. I'm not talking about something small and simple, a
Oh no, no, no.
heinous crime.
Yeah.
Then I don't have a problem with that. In fact, my request is please do not give them the drugs. Please do, please no, no, let me do that. Let my mama come to town and do it. Because
Exactly.
my family will tell you that my nephews say there's, that they fear their father, their grandfather, but they're terrified as their grandmother, and we'll call her Aunt Cheesebear. Because it's a maternal instinct to protect you and your family. Men know how to fight. They know how to hunt better than we do. We know how to survive. That's why you don't want to get in a fight with a woman. I'd rather fight a man any day.
Oh yeah.
Women, we fight to survive. That just clicks. We don't know how to have the, behind the schoolyard arguments. We don't know how to do that to that level. We fight for survival.
And you
And you hurt
explained it in
someone
a
in my
way that
family?
I've never ever had someone explain it to me before. As far as the pro-life and the death penalty situation, that you're on the side of the innocent life.
Mhm.
I've never ever had somebody say that. They try to back up the different situations. And for you to say that, I applaud you, to say you're for the innocent of the life,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't see it that way.
Who would have
Yeah.
thought Cheese Bear it wasn't just a mod queen, that she had an opinion? I love it.
Oh no, I call her Mod Goddess. Are you kidding me?
Oh, come on. I have opinions. I
Yeah,
just try not to keep them out, bring
I
them
never mess with
outside.
you. I
That's what
never
I was
mess
going
with
to
you,
say.
Lisa.
She just chooses not to,
You you threatened
I
to
choose
cut
not to bring them outside.
you threatened to
And
cut me
I'm
before,
so
so
glad.
I'm good.
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm so glad that you were passionate enough and mad enough to come up
I
here,
apologize
because
again.
No,
oh no,
don't.
no, 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 do not apologize, because I love having discussions and debates with someone who is passionate, because you get to hear what that person is about. Whether we agree or we don't,
Right.
we're still adults. We can agree to disagree, and maybe come up with a third option. You never know. And that's the only way things get solved. I see your side, you see my side, and we either come to a conclusion or go, okay,
Or
well,
move
you
on.
can do it your way, I'll do it mine. You know
Right.
what I mean? People have lost the sense of what a debate and a discussion really is these days.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
I'm not going to lie. When I knew she was coming in town, I was like, oh no, this is just going to fall apart. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man. Yeah. As a host, let me tell you, I was like, what did I do? But then it was all good and everything's good. And I just,
AJ,
I knew that different opinions and different everything was going to come through this. But for me, I wanted to hear other people's, you know what I mean? Facts or other people's, opinion or thoughts on the situation. So,
Yes, Tiffany, I appreciate that. I really do. You know, people, yeah, you got to be able to disagree, but still respect the other person.
mhm.
And people ask me my opinion, and I know I'm taking it back to the cops, and I'm so sorry. I can respect a person's position without respecting the person that is in that position,
it's a totally
or
different thing.
I can respect a person and hate their position.
Mhm.
Having being a manager for so many years, I hated my bosses, but I respected the position they were in. And I've had other bosses I res, that I respected them, but I hated the position they were in because of what they had to do. You know, you can disagree, you can argue, scream, cry, kick, but if you still don't takes the opportunity to talk to someone else and get their side and still come away with some level of respect, it wasn't a debate, it wasn't a discussion.
John, I did not. I knew I was a bit heated when I came in and in the chat, but I would never come up here and disrespect you as a host, just on your panel. That's just not what I would do.
Oh no, and I do.
But what got me so hot was this guy with his arguments, which were not based on fact, but was just
And I own
propaganda
that.
to
I
rile
own
everyone
not
up.
having the right or what I wanted portrayed in the right manner. I agree. It wasn't the best one to put up there. So I own that. But yeah.
Let's be
I
clear.
appreciate everybody who's in the chat and had, y'all for who's up here. I really
Let's be
do.
clear. The guy wasn't told for life, right, Cheesebear?
What?
No,
Oh,
she
it
wasn't
wasn't?
talking about you.
Okay.
No, I wasn't talking about you. No. Trust me, if I was talking about you, I would have started with you.
Okay. I love you, Cheesebear.
I love you too, darling. You know that.
Oh, she would have taken it somewhere else and got you backstage somewhere.
Yeah. I'd have found you. Trust me, I'd have found you on these YouTube streets. I'd have hunted you down.
Out here in
But
these
and
streets, baby.
And a
and
big shout
Nick,
out to Brother Bear, in chat. He's stuck around. He said he was going to leave me, but he didn't. So,
and Nikki brings up a good point. Each of us gets to feel a certain way about this, and the fear that the doors are opening for the states and the government to come too far into our lives. Well, like you were talking about with taking the jab for the coof. Okay, everybody knows what I'm talking about. You know,
yeah, well, we're not gonna get her streams.
exactly. But
If no
that falls
issues.
into, I think, where everybody's opening their eyes of, why are they coming in so far in that aspect in our lives when
Well,
they're
when
not in others.
they are currently, I don't think a lot of people understand that they have reinstated that. So it is for the military, except for the Navy SEALs. I think they're the only ones that are getting a pass right now, but the Army's discharging people.
Yes.
The Navy's discharging people. The federal government is limiting people in their jobs. They're reestablishing this. They're making people get tested. Your employer doesn't have, this is the bodily autonomy. This is just my body. There's nobody else in it. It's just me. So no one has the right to tell me whether my religion says that I can't get needles, or whether I can't get the coof needle.
See, and they're not
You
even
shouldn't
taking.
have to defend that. You shouldn't have to tell me. You should give my body. I've had it my whole life. None of my doctors have been around my body my whole life. That I don't want any of them telling me this. You don't have any business
Exactly.
telling me.
And they're not taking into consideration the religious aspect of it, because there are some that are out there that, because of the religious belief, they're they're exempt from it, but they're not looking at it that way with this. And you I love
No,
this
with the
debate, and I love talking to y'all, because we could go on so many different tangents.
There is not one person in the active military that their religious exemption has been accepted. Not one. Zero.
No, not in the military. Not in the military. It just,
But there shouldn't have to be an exemption process to begin with.
exactly.
As a regular federal employee, why should they have to do that? What does that have to do with the lady at the Social Security office processing Aunt Bunny's paperwork? Whether she gets a shot or not. So I don't understand how the government feels that they can step in. But what's interesting is all the people who are adamantly throwing these temper tantrums on today's side of the topic anti-Supreme Court are the same people who believe because of bodily autonomy, and that's their opinion, okay? But yet you don't have bodily autonomy when it comes to having a shot. That doesn't make sense to me. And that's where I say that you lose me when you lose the science. When you lose your consistency in argument, I admit my pro-life argument is not consistent, but I presented my reasoning why it's not when it comes to someone who's committed a horrendous crime. However, if I have bodily autonomy and the government needs to stay out of my body, then what right does the government have to tell me as a grown woman that I need to have a shot? You're not my daddy. I heard that from somewhere.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
My name
Because of somebody
Jeff.
we're friends with.
My name Jeff.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right on that. And someone who bases everything on the science can also respect when science changes because they have found new ways to uh, test and find out what something actually is. You know, like, oh, see, I'm not scientific, so I'm not sure how to explain it. There's been many things over the years. Well, take the DNA for example. It used to be just blood typing. You know, people were based on their blood type, especially in crimes and stuff. Well, you've got the same blood type. Now science has changed, and we've learned that there's actually more to it. So someone who bases everything on science can actually, you know, have those facts, have that backing, and accept that things do change and evolve.
Yes. Indeed.
Yeah, one thing that Bear Miller said, and I completely agree with you. Why do the docs need to ask about whether I own a gun or not? You know, I'm amazed at the questions when I moved here
What?
and got a new doctor. Yeah, the doctors ask you if you own a gun. Of course, I lost all of mine in this incredible boating accident. Actually, it's a moving accident when I moved here. All of my guns just disappeared. So, of course, I don't have any. None at
Well,
all.
as someone who is happy that Tennessee is now a constitutional carry state, I'm sorry you lost your weaponry.
No. I just don't believe it's anybody's business what I own or don't
It's
own.
not.
Everything
It's
I purchased legally in
and
another
it's not
state,
a.
but it doesn't.
I didn't
It's no
know
one's
the doctors
business.
were asking that.
Hmm. I know that they asked it when I moved to the previous state that I moved in. They were asking it, but you know, the doctors ask a lot of strange questions when you go. I don't know if you've been to a new doctor recently, but when I came here to get a primary physician, I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. The most intrusive things I've ever heard. You know, it just
You having a
amazes me.
weapon has nothing to do with your health.
Exactly. Well,
Oh,
don't the
wait a
schools
minute.
ask the kids that?
I
Yeah.
see where they're going with it. Okay. They're
I don't
basing
believe
that.
the government has the right to have a list of anyone having a gun. And whether they have it locally, I don't care. I don't care. When I moved to the last state I moved into before Tennessee, you know, when I left, somebody said to me, "You better check to make sure you don't have to register your weapons with the sheriff." I'm like,
And Wobbly
I'm
Boost,
like, watch me do that. Watch me do
Wo-
that.
Wobbly Boost just hit it on the head. I wasn't going to say it, but it's in case they find out that someone has mental disorders, they know whether or not if something goes wrong to inform that they have a weapon on the premises.
And again, when you're dealing with this lockdown situation, what is a mental disorder? You know, if you've been locked up
Everybody's
like the
crazy right
Chinese
now.
been for a few weeks, You know, are you sad? No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Well, everybody else is depressed and you're good. Okay, obviously you're having a breakdown. I mean, no matter what, they're going to get whatever the answer they want. So they don't
Exactly.
need to know about what weapons I have. And
See,
you
and
can come take it. Good luck. You better
well,
not.
everybody
No
for
knock
2 years.
warrant will get you. Mm-mm. You'll
Well,
be
everybody for
saying
two
if there
years
is a
has
God.
developed cabin fever. You know, everybody has been affected in some way or other, and people can handle it
And
on
so,
different levels.
correct.
Don't put us all in the same box because not everybody's the same. You know what I mean? And that's how they're treating us when it comes to this situation that they're trying to push on us.
It
Mm. You know, it,
again, when I saw with Australia, when I watched what they were doing with the lockdowns, and all you need is the doctor to turn around. And my issue with that is, explain to me again who won the Cold War. Explain to me again when a doctor can turn around and come in and say, okay, you're depressed, you're having an episode, and if you turn around and you argue against it, then oh my god, see, there she's hysterical, she's carrying out,
I was
they
just
have
fixing to say
created
that.
this. Yeah, they've created this Karen scenario to keep you and me in line so that we're going to be good girls and not go against the man. And no, 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 sweetheart, no, no,
What's up?
Yeah,
no.
and it
You
was
can't,
always
don't call me Karen, call me Cheese.
and it was always
Get it right.
the strong-willed women who were portrayed that way. The women who weren't submissive, the ones who could think for themselves. We were nuts because we had our own opinions. And it it doesn't matter race, creed, belief, anything. When it comes to being a woman, I don't feel, and I'm sorry for all you men out there with your political views. When it comes to a woman's body, I don't feel it should only be men that are making the decisions. It needs to be both.
What do you mean by that? Okay, just so I'm clear.
Well, I mean, if you look back through history, and even with our Supreme Court right now, it's mostly men.
Hmm.
You know, the women's voices. Yeah, we've had feminism and everything else, and we've
Let me see
made
Angela.
steps. But
Can I just maybe bring it from a different viewpoint?
Yes.
We've spent a tremendous amount of time lately in it. I'm not going to open this can of worms, but I'm just going to bring up that this has been an issue on defining what a woman is, women and transgender and males. All this has been an issue that has been really gaslighted, and a tremendous issue over the past couple years. And just now all of a sudden we're doing the Roe versus Wade, which means the women fight the women, and the women, you have no business, so you need to be a man and shut up and don't pay attention to
49
this.
years, yeah,
Do
49
do
years later.
yeah, do you not see that perhaps this is just a way of creating more discord? And while we're busy arguing with this, we don't recognize, how much our federal government is taking away our rights. We don't recognize, what they did in the lockdown was completely illegal from the word go.
You
What
know,
they did as far as the mandates, the masking, I mean, that's all absolutely inappropriate. And
it is so ironic you say that because just last night, my mother, who was 71 years old, when she heard about the leak, first comment out of her mouth was, that was a political move to get everybody on that and away from what else is going on in the world, because everybody's going to turn to that. And she's right. That's
Yeah,
what.
it is. This is the new shiny object for us to look at. Once we got done with the lockdowns, then it became the Ukraine, and now you've got Ebola going on in Africa. Just in case anybody missed that one from last week, a lot of people did. That's
Again.
my big fear. You've got the migrant crisis, we'll call it, on the southern border. So, I mean, you pick your topic, they've created a time of hostility where people can't even have a conversation. And very few people can get up here, and I'm, like I said, when I came on panel, before I came on panel, and respect to you, AJ, for dropping the link, but I was hot, I was hot, and I was quite adamant. The first thing I put in there was that abortion is murder, so you pretty much knew that you had somebody who had a
Oh
strong
yeah,
opinion who was coming up.
we were all sitting here watching you chat, and I was like, yeah, as soon as you said drop the link, I was like, uh-oh. But I welcomed it because, like I said, we needed somebody up here that had a differing viewpoint, you know. And I got to say this, Caucasian, yes, she has behaved herself. Leave her alone.
Vacation Sasquatch, you're not my daddy.
He
My
wishes.
papa don't play. No, my papa don't play. Trust me, he would not be a happy camper if he heard me up here. He tells me to stay away from that YouTube stuff.
Oh,
But
we all hear that, you know. But if you stay, me and my mom had an argument about that part not too long ago. And I told her, I said, look, if I stay in my own group with like minded people and I don't learn anything else, I'm not going to grow as a human being. Being on here, I have met people from New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Norway, every state in the US. So I'm learning. Yeah, I'm almost 50 years old, but I'm still learning. Somebody
the
can
the
change my mind,
the
you know.
issue that I have with YouTube is, for the most part, there is rarely a discussion that takes place here, which is, people with different viewpoints getting together and having a respectful discussion. But what it takes is, it takes the basis of respect to begin with. And it comes on everyone's behalf that enters the discussion. Again, I'm adamantly anti-abortion. I mean, I will claim that. I will own that.
But
Except
you
for
are
if the
willing to
mother's life
listen.
is in danger. But not only am I willing to listen, but more importantly is, I'm not here to condemn.
Exactly.
And that's the
Exactly.
difference, is we've created generations now of people who want to sit there, and instead of having a conversation, it becomes about the mic drop. There's no mic drop in a discussion. What in a discussion, you have to walk away. I learned something. If not anything, I learned more about the people I was talking to.
Exactly.
And they
Exactly.
learned more about we didn't come out walking hand in hand. We're not going to walk hand in hand on this issue. There really isn't, because this is one of these fundamental things where you're never going to see eye to eye on it. You believe in the fundamental right to protect either the mother's choice or the baby's life. That's the fundament. You're not going to be able to come to a one opinion on it. It's not going to happen. We can't compromise down to it. But what we can do is, we can start from respect and end with respect. But when you
Exactly.
have so many people who just don't know how to do that, and don't want to, because they want to drop the mic, they want to hashtag it, they want to put it on TikTok, they want to make a short out of it, Caucasian.
I knew that was coming.
Smart move, Caucasian Sasquatch. You don't want to lose any mods.
So he said, nope.
No.
And even if we don't agree on this, there's so many other things that we probably do.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
You know,
I'm sure
you
we
know,
do.
you know, having a differing opinion on something, or learning different facts, or not agreeing, does not mean you hate that person. Okay, you just learn to have that discussion and focus on everything else, and if new information comes to light, then broach it again. And people, the society has become, I'm sorry about the wind, the society has become so It's got to be instant gratification. I got to know. I got to know now. You're going to see my side or you're not. My way or the highway. And it's like,
Well,
okay.
for me, this topic, um, I can be very forgiving and understanding and hold a girl's hand, through whatever process she goes through, as long as it's the legal process, whether I disagree with it or not, because to me, being their friend and being their support, and if I'm the one they reached out to, then I have to be there for them. But I'll be honest with you, I have one niece and all nephews. And if one of my nephew's wives were to have an abortion, I'd probably terrorize out. There's no need for that. Unless her life was in danger, she has enough support around her in our family that there's no way she ever needed to do that.
And I think that right there is a key difference to a lot of what's going on because there's so many people who don't have that love and support, that they are out there on their own. And the fear paralyzes them into making hard, rough decisions because there's not someone there to walk with them, to back them up. And I'm not referring to the ones that have medical issues. I'm referring to everybody else.
Absolutely.
You know, because I went to school with girls who, as soon as their parents found out, they were kicked out on the street.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that backing and that support. And therein came the fear of, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Which even I was married and was like, oh God, what are we going to do?
Of course. But
And
it's if someone doesn't have that, and again, because it's my family and I know what their situation is and I know what their support system is, whether they're having a problem or I have on my birthday, my nephew had the first child of their generation, and another one was born last month, and so they've started to come. I cannot imagine, with the amount of support that those women have had in having their children, and for anyone to be able to see that they would ever think that for some reason they would need to kill their child. There is a complete amount of resources available, whether they be physical, emotional, financial, whatever, that are available to those women. They can pick up the phone at 3:00 in the morning and say, my husband's, out of town and I need ice cream, and somebody will bring it to them, or I need someone to talk to, someone will be there. So there's no excuse for it. So because I'm familiar with the situation and it's my family, then no, it's not acceptable.
yeah, and like you said, if it was a friend or someone that has reached out to you, because you may not know the entire situation, but you said that you would be there for them without condemning them, and and that gives me a lot of respect for you, for the fact that you won't. Yeah, family's different. You'll do what you do with family, but when it's a friend or a stranger or something, you're not condemning them. You might let them know how you feel,
I'll
but
let
you're
them know
also
how I
letting them
feel,
know.
and hey, there's this, that, and the other available to you. But if their only choice, and I'm like, I don't have anyone else to turn to, I can't deny another human being compassion, and that's not just, and everyone should be like that.
Exactly.
Whether I agree with it or disagree with it, and it would take a lot of soul searching for me to get over what I had done to facilitate that. And it did, because I was in that situation. But it was more about my opinion versus compassion that someone else needed. And my value system, this is where my morality comes in, decided that my decision had to be for compassion versus imposing my morality on someone else because I don't have the right to do that.
I don't mean to laugh. I read something that Caucasian wrote, and it's where did it go? God's honest truth. Truth once spoken spreads a cleansing light and pisses absolutely everyone off.
Absolutely. That's true.
And that's true.
Mhm.
But I just, we've been up here for a while, and I just want to say thank you for coming up. I loved having this discussion with you, hearing someone else's viewpoint that could actually articulate without screaming at me.
Not what you ladies thought when I came up.
Well, no, I mean, I've had these discussions before where people just screamed me down to where they didn't want to hear my side. And
I didn't know how it was going to go. That's what scared me. Once I heard, I knew you were mad because I could read it. But then when I heard it, it was like, oh, shit. But no, I knew you wouldn't intentionally do any harm.
No, but I've paid enough attention to Cheesebear and some things that she said, and I've listened to Caucasian about, some things, and I was like, but she's got a brain on her, and I've seen you, in chats before, in discussions and stuff, and, there are people that would have come up here that would have just been up here cussing everybody and screaming everybody down and not listening. And
no. Always be a lady.
And that's what we need.
I did. No, it's sad when you see women get up and just scream, rant, and rave and cuss, and it's like, yeah, you're what gives us a bad name.
Well, the other person shuts down, and there's no discussion. It's like, so what was the point of you getting mad in the first place? Just to shut someone down and not hear them? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Alrighty, well, I gotta get going.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody who came in.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes.
Thank you.
It went okay. I'm proud of myself. Proud of y'all. Proud of everybody. Yay! No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Thank you for letting me up.
No problem.
It went well.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody. We're gonna leave on that note. Good to see everybody. Yes, it's music time, Brother Bear.
Definitely. I've had texts coming in and all kinds of things. Where are you at?
Right, I know. It went way longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. And yeah.
Good.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
In other words, they are going to share you out to everyone.
Oh, awesome.
And I appreciate you doing this because, this is something that, people are probably discussing in back rooms and they're not going to have on panels because they're afraid of, the hard questions.
Right.
And I applaud you for doing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll bow for that one. Yeah. No, thank you, everybody who came, who's here. But I'm out. I've got a kid to attend to and put to bed. He's already past his bedtime, but it happens. So. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Later.